Yeah, there's like 57 some working days between now and the end of 2025, right? We're October 2 today recording this. And so, I mean, that's not a lot. And then let's
Mhm.
think of how many of the holidays that you have. And, I don't know about you, but typically before Thanksgiving, I take a couple days to prepare and get everything together. Same thing with Christmas, right?
Welcome to the Leading Lane podcast for real estate pros by real estate pros with your hosts, Ashley Frederick and Stephen Birch. If you're looking for an honest, authentic, and raw perspective, you found it.
All right, welcome to the Leading Lane podcast. I'm actually really super stoked about this one because we just got back from Wisconsin, Marshfield. We drove all the way back, and when we were up there, we went to go celebrate Ashley and Stephanie and the entire company for Next Home Hub City for the Small Business of the Year award. So, congrats. I'm
Thank you.
tired from driving and sitting in a car for 11 hours, but it's well worth it. But tell me first off, what is the Small Business of the Year award? And then what does it mean to you?
Sure. So our chamber is responsible for selecting both Firm of the Year and Small Business of the Year. So Small Business of the Year is 50 or less employees. Firm of the Year is 50 or more employees. What they really look for as far as the criteria is economic impact, signs of growth, involvement in the community, and you have to be in business for at least 5 years before you can be acknowledged. They've been doing that for probably like 40 plus years. So I think for me, it's humbling that people recognize what we're doing. I think that's always part of it is, we try to be as involved in the community as possible. We try to give back as much as possible. And you just always wonder, like, are people actually recognizing what you're doing or appreciating what you're doing? I think sometimes we as entrepreneurs and givers sometimes feel that like lack of appreciation because I think a lot of people forget to say thank you.
Sure.
So I think to have, there's a committee that votes on it. Are typically probably 5 or 6 businesses that are submitted and then they pick from that. So I think the fact that, other people in the community, um, whatever the votes were that they wanted to move forward with selecting us, means a lot. And that was in January that we were selected. So we've kind of had stuff throughout the year as far as recognition. And then this was their first time doing a combined dinner with the Firm of the Year and the Small Business of the Year. I think it went great. For me, it also means a lot for people that are coming to support us. So obviously you and Ryan, my sister and other family and friends that made time out of their schedule to support such a achievement was a lot, but it's fun to get dressed up, fun to celebrate where we have started, where we've been, what we've experienced. It's been a wild ride for 5.5 years, and we've kind of talked about before, starting basically a brokerage in a global pandemic was not on the bingo card, along with many other things that have really tested, us as leaders, as business owners, as realtors. It's not easy. There's a lot of things that come up. So I think just knowing like the steadfast and staying true to who you are pays off.
I mean, it's the constant grind. And
Mhm.
I think that we talk about all the time being in rural America and Midwest and just the challenges that each of us, have to see. And so being able to see that those challenges, those hurdles that we've always have overcome, it is nice to have a little bit of recognition, and it's great to celebrate. It's fun to watch all of your agents and your staff and Stephanie and all the family and friends that were there to be able to, cheer you guys on and just be able to have a little bit of time to be able to celebrate. And I think that's super important for no matter if it's the small business of the year or as an independent agent or, I mean, just you as an individual, making sure that you take time to celebrate and stop and reflect to see how long you've been going at it and how much you have overcome over the years. And sometimes, you may be in the rut of the stuff right now, but doesn't mean that you need to stay there and freeze and be complacent. So constantly pushing on. Um, and when we first started this, I said, hey, let's talk about your small business of the year award. And you said, you know how much I love talking about myself, being sarcastic.
Yeah.
But isn't it great? Like, as much as we're not talking about yourself, like in this, like it's you and you're leading all of the people, and you and Stephanie are doing all of the heavy lifting and the visionaries and being able to, take a whole group of people on this journey with you. But it does reflect on you, and you do need to talk about yourself. But why do you think it is a challenge? I know we kind of hit on this topic a little bit, but why do you think it's a challenge and we steer away from even wanting to talking about an award that you've received for the entire company?
Yeah, I think, sometimes I feel like, right, because you're the owner or the leader, that people look at you and they don't realize that it's the whole team, which I do understand we lead the whole team. And that
Mhm.
is time consuming and takes a lot of skill as well to build people up to that next level. So, I always just want to make sure that the other agents and staff don't get overlooked. But I think it's also just, we don't necessarily do all of that work to be recognized.
Mhm.
Like I said, it's very nice to be recognized, but I think it's also because and again, not that we care what other people think, but some people are not kind.
Mhm.
And some people say not nice things when you receive awards or get recognition. So I think it's always just working past that too. And, I can't help it the more I think about it. I mean, we are a little loud, if you will. Our orange colors are hard to miss at
Mhm.
events. But in the same sense, like yesterday, like doing a TikTok of, our Western wear, like we do have fun, like we do have a good time. There's no reason why we can't promote that. And I think about other people that don't work in those environments and
Right.
don't have that type of fun. So I think it's just, I always want to make sure it doesn't get skewed one way or another, and that we're still looking at the whole picture.
Yeah. I mean, really, I think it goes to say, because one of the slides that you had up there were the people that, I think you said were a part of your journey, right?
Mhm.
And they may not be in the industry any longer, may not be with the company any longer, but you still took time to recognize those individuals that were a part of the story and the journey for you guys. And I think that shows the type of leadership that you guys have, as far as, yeah, the spotlight is on you, but really that's really where the leadership comes into play. You turn around and make sure that that spotlight shined on not only just the people that you had there currently on your company roster, but also the people that once were a part of the company and no longer are. I think
Yeah,
that shows
I think that
tremendous leadership.
Thank you. I mean, I think that, when you think about like growing a company, starting with two people,
Mhm.
and, you know, uh, yeah, agents have, retired, several of them retired, got out of real estate, a lot of it,
Mhm.
admin work, like moved away, moved to different states, those types of things. But when you're developing at such a fast pace, it's all those people's inputs, right? Like they all
Mhm.
had some idea, or can we do this? Have you tried this? Right? Because they were maybe new to
Right.
the industry or new to Marshfield. So I think that like those are all pieces of who we are
Mhm.
today. And so I know that not a lot of people maybe would have recognized people that even they let go.
Mhm.
But I still say like they're a part of who we were. Obviously, our main focus is on who our people are currently. But yes, I do
Sure.
believe you have to pay homage to people that have helped you to get to where you are.
Yeah, kudos to you. And I think that too, for me, it was very eye-opening. You made a comment earlier about you don't know if people are really watching or really see you, but we all always say that, yeah, everybody's always watching. The amount of people that came up to us, to Ryan and I, and
I'm
said,
like
"Oh my
little
God,"
celebrity.
it was, I don't want to say weird as in a bad way. It was humbling for sure. I definitely have to get better at the small talk and like the conversations like that, because it comes out of nowhere. People are came up to us, but I think it just goes to show that no matter if it's you there on the local level, me from afar, people are watching. People
Mhm.
do want to know and learn, from you. And there's multiple people that said, like, I'm not in real estate. And, if it's something, a topic doesn't resonate with me, then I can jump on to the next one, and that's okay. But
Yeah.
I think it's so important to be able to see here, Ashley, is that the amount of people that you and the amount of people's lives that we touch, from the people that we work with us, their family, the ones that are no longer working with us, and even the people within our community, even the people that are, quiet and don't say anything, don't like anything, you still are making an impact on multiple lives throughout the entire day. And I think it's hard to see it in the moment, and the
Mhm.
frustrations, and when we're trying to stomp out fires and shit's hitting the fan or whatever is happening, to really
After the
realize. And
building.
yeah, like, my gosh, there's always something that's going on. But it makes me feel good, not in the manner that I'm getting praise. So similar to what you're saying, like, I'm not doing the podcast to be a mini celebrity. That's not it. But the goal here is just to impact one life, right? That's it. And if people, enjoy learning or listening to us, and that's all that matters. And I think it's breaking it down when those dumpster fires happen, realizing and humbling and saying, it's okay, because the real thing that matters is what I'm doing, and being very intentional. And these other things really are not that big of a dumpster fire.
Well, I think you and I talked a little bit about, we obviously share like on the podcast, which so many people listen to, but we could probably both do a little bit better job of like sharing things on social media, because I do think
Yeah.
people are looking for a light, if you will, or they're
Mhm.
looking for, I haven't always felt, I'm not the only one that feels this way, or
Right.
people are also struggling and they're still, making it. I sent out my newsletter, I think yesterday, and I didn't, Leah did, but, and, it said in there more or less like, had we not started 5.5 years ago, like,
Mhm.
where would we be today? And that actually makes me cringe as to where we would be today, because, I more than likely wouldn't have you and Ryan. We wouldn't be doing this. We wouldn't be impacting people. Who knows if I'd be in real estate anymore, because that was where it was headed.
Right.
So I just encourage people, like, if you're on the fence about something, like, just do it. Like, what's the worst thing that could happen? I think you'd appreciate this. I ran into a friend yesterday, and she, you know, reminder of like, I don't know, like, our podcasts come out, but like clips come out, and sometimes it's from a
Mhm.
while ago, and sometimes I'm like, oh yeah, we did talk about that. But she did just say like how the unstuck, or get like when you're stuck, like podcast that
Mhm.
we did like meant a lot, and how she feels like she's stuck, and like, how do you get unstuck, and I'm obviously she's still trying to figure that out. And I think that all of us go through those phases of being stuck somewhere, and it's actually part of the process. I think you have to be stuck for a little bit, because then that's when you realize things need to change or aren't going to change, or what you're putting your time and effort into maybe, isn't worth it. And
Right.
I encouraged her to find 3 things to say no to, between now and the end of the year, as far as projects or whatnot, but even some other things. And I'm gonna reach back out to her. She was telling me, like, after I thought about them, like, I think they're happening for a reason. Like, I think that
Mhm.
they're happening so that she can spend time elsewhere. And I think that's hard for sometimes people to just think about giving up projects you've worked really hard on, or, people that you've spent a lot of time with. I know that that's difficult. I've had a lot of that change in my life, people that thought would be around forever, and, we just
Mhm.
gone our separate ways. And sometimes that's strange and weird, but I always realize that I'm making room for people that are where I'm at today.
Yeah. And I think it goes back to, you have to serve your purpose, right? Let that be the 5.5 years ago when you started the company. Uh, yes, it's difficult to leave a company that you've already been with and have, the name recognition and everything, but it didn't serve your purpose anymore. It didn't
Mhm.
align with you, as who you are and who you're growing to, and that's okay. And so I think it's the continuation of continuing to realign and reevaluate not only yourself, but it's the people around you. And they have a choice. They can either level up with you, or you can let them go and release, and let them, right? Like, you kind of have to do that. And, even the people that you no longer with your company, they still serve their purpose. You still learn from them. You still got out of them what, and then they got out of you as well, right? Like it was still a mutual relationship, but doesn't mean there needs to be ill feelings or spite or anything else that comes along with it. It's a constantly pushing forward. Um, and I was talking to one of my friends last night, and we were talking about being either um, fight or flight, right? And the third is you freeze. And freeze, I think, is really where you are stuck because you don't know what to do. You don't want to fight. You don't want to flight out of there either. And so you just kind of do nothing. And it's a little bit easier so you don't have to make those difficult decisions. And getting the suck is really the freeze. And trust me, there's been multiple times I wanted to just curl up and not do a damn thing and freeze, and maybe everything else will pass. But when you have those moments, you just can't give up. You can't stop because, or else we wouldn't be here where we are right now. I mean, that goes all the way around. There's the butterfly
Right.
effect.
What do you think about a podcast, right?
Yeah.
That's funny that you say that. So September was obviously Realtor Safety Month. So we ended it
Mhm.
out with having the police give a presentation on Tuesday, and it was about a little bit more so like shooter situations, which
Mhm.
it does really make me think. Like we go to sports games, we go to these big crowds, and like
Mhm.
making sure you're aware of your surroundings. And I do think we all need to work on that. But one thing they talked about was fight or fright or freeze. And I thought he made a good point in that uh, we probably don't do as much fight, fight or flight anymore because we're not in those true situations. So if like you think about a
Mhm.
caveman, like their fight or flight was to literally like live or die.
Mhm.
We don't really get put in those situations anymore. So
Right.
like our flight and fight is decreased. And so now the freeze has taken over a lot of people.
Mhm.
So I think that it's interesting that we're talking about it like literally not like in your personal life, but in these situations, there's been just
Mhm.
more and more freezing. So they gave an example. I mean, it's unfortunate, but you remember that nightclub in Orlando that had a
Yep.
fire, and they showed the diagram of how like people were trying to get out, and everyone just tried to go out the front entry, like the door that they came in.
Mhm.
And it showed like where people died, and it was like 19 people died like in the stair, like in that well of just waiting to get out the front door. Where in all reality, like there were like windows along the side, there was
Mhm.
back doors, but everyone just took the one path that they knew instead of
Mhm.
trying to go
Hmm.
out the separate means. So made like putting that into reference makes you really think about knowing your surroundings, but
Sure.
also like not getting stuck in the flight or like right, they froze. They just
Mhm.
stayed instead of trying to fight that through. So it's a really good presentation and made you think a lot about like what you're doing, where you're going, and how to be prepared for things. But I do think we have gotten to a point where maybe it's easy to just freeze. It's easy to go into a social media, um, I don't know, time suck, if you will.
Mhm.
Right? Like sometimes I think that's what people spend their freezes is I'm just going to be like empty minded and whatnot. And I
Right.
think you can do that to a point, but you have to recognize that that's not healthy either. And sometimes it's just a matter of going for a walk outside, or like I did last night, left my phone at the house,
Mhm.
went for a walk. Like you just have to be able to try to recognize when you're maybe not in the right frame of mind and what you can do to get out of that.
Right. And I mean, it's a constant battle, it's a constant learning, and all of these lessons can be applied to anything, right? Like anything aspects of life. But really, I think the moral of the story with this is just keep going, just keep swimming, right? Like finding Nemo, just keep swimming, and don't stop, and continue to move forward. You don't know what the opportunities that are right in front of you of you being able to say yes, but also you being able to say no, what that's going to lead to. But making sure that's always your moral compass and what serves you and what you are after, that you are constantly aligned with those actions and those decisions that you're moving forward with.
Yeah, I mean, you referenced it as far as like going into quarter four, right? Like
Mhm.
right here. We're at the beginning of Q4, and a lot of people put the brakes on, if you will, where, you encouraged people yesterday to not do that. So
Mhm.
tell me how many actual like working days we have, like 50 some.
Yeah, there's like 57 some working days between now and the end of 2025, right? We're October 2 today recording this. And so, I mean, that's not a lot. And then let's
Mhm.
think of how many of the holidays that you have. And, I don't know about you, but typically before Thanksgiving, I take a couple days to prepare and get everything together. Same thing with Christmas, right? And then you have the time between Christmas, excuse me, and Christmas and New Year's. Like,
There's
really,
holiday parties, there's all the other stuff.
so there's not a lot of time. And I think the typical person, I wrote in specifically about real estate, but the typical person slows down and they're like, oh, it's busy with all of these things. And, not that we're not, but to me, those are the distractions. Those are the excuses. And really, if you get tied in and sucked into all of those different excuses and you don't see that, you have a prime opportunity right here in front of you while everybody else is distracted, this is the time to put your foot on the gas and press go and go as quickly as you can and as efficiently as you can. And you may not be getting a whole bunch of business per se right now, but this is where the processes and the systems and leaning into the tools and tech and taking some projects to work on to make you way more efficient. And so the way that I look at it, like Q4 for me is really the brand new year for me. And so I want to make sure that when Q1 New Year's hits for everybody else, I'm already operating in Q2 versus their Q1. I want to be that far ahead of everybody else and thinking. And it's gotten me in trouble before as far as realizing I need to slow down and be present for today. But also, I think that's a superpower of being not being sucked in and tied in like everybody else tries to give themselves excuses and give them a reason why they're not busy and productive right now because of the holiday season. I think that's a piss poor excuse.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's right. What you put into it is what you get out of it.
100%. 100%. Cool. Well, congrats on your award. Super freaking proud of you. I was really glad that we were able to spend time with you and the rest of the team and celebrate you guys. And I appreciate everybody listening into the podcast and all the fangirls out there that I met. Thank you for continuing to listen and give feedback and all of that good fun stuff. So thank you all.
If you've enjoyed today's episode, please like, subscribe, and share with others. Stay connected for more genuine insights and strategies to boost your real estate career on Facebook or check out our website. We'll see you next time.